Evening,
What's going
everyone.
on, guys?
Greetings, brothers. All right. Any idea on Dennis or Santiago?
I have not heard from Santiago today.
Dennis said he might not be showing up. I think he might have a friend coming over today.
Okay. Trevor, is Santiago your partner?
Correct.
Haven't heard from him at all.
Correct.
What's going on?
I haven't heard from him.
Did you reach out to him?
I did.
Okay. Did y'all plan anything for the morning?
We did not,
Okay.
but yeah, I've shot him a couple texts.
Okay. All righty. I don't know about y'all. I could use a little movement. Y'all up for a quick dance?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I definitely need it today. Trevor, you all good?
Yep.
Seem a little lower energy. I'm ready for this dance to get you.
All right, let's do it.
Lego.
All right, little bread and cheese. Yo, let me know if you can hear it. Not yet.
Yep.
I can hear it.
All right.
All right.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Well, if it gets your heart rate up.
Indeed, it will. Indeed.
Goodness.
Alrighty, boys.
Is Jalen gonna be joining or no?
He'll probably be on a little bit later. He said he might be able to catch the later half. Before we get started, one or two word check in for you boys.
Enthusiastic and energetic. Is Nasser here?
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck is
Yes.
happening. I don't know why you can't. Oh, I
Oh,
don't
there
know
we
why you
go.
can't.
It's technology.
Yeah, I'm not that good with it.
It's all Gucci, brother.
I would say today heavy. That's about it.
Overwhelmed.
Maxi Poo?
Let's see. I'm thinking free and nervous.
Hmm.
I would chicken with very busy. Okay, this is gonna be three, not just two. Sorry, you'll just have to bear with me. I'm gonna chicken with busy, a little bit lost, but hella excited.
Alrighty. That's it. Let's get started, boys. I dropped the notes down below in the chat. I'm just gonna keep them on Google Docs from now on. It's a lot easier than having them in the Mighty. And what we're starting with, this call's all about part 3. So if you'll scroll down to public victory, that's where we'll be starting.
Wait,
Um,
part 3? That's habit 3, right?
Is there notes? Oh, look, there it is. Book notes.
No, part 3. Part 3 is public victory. That's where we started. First section is paradigms of interdependence. And then after that, it's habit 4.
Yes, or part 4, right?
Well, part 3, and then the first section of part 3 is paradigms. And then the
Yes.
section is going to be the habit 4. And then there's those habits, and then there's section 4 or part 4 as well. But yeah, just go down to part 3, public victory, and you guys will be all caught up there.
Got it.
That's the part where the emotional bank account one, right?
Yeah, that's where that started at.
Okay.
Um,
Trying to pull up the notes,
Alrighty.
it's not opening.
hmm,
Never mind, I got it.
sweet. Okay. Let's go ahead and discuss. Let's try and keep section to section, what we can. But yeah, this paradigms of interdependence. We'll start in this section. And yeah, this talked about the 6 major emotional bank deposits. So just anything that came up, what's relevant, any news, any contradicting opinions.
Sorry, guys.
Do what?
So,
Oh,
about how public victory is about achieving success through effective relationships and through collaboration. I feel like it's kind of about like understanding that we're all gonna have strengths and weaknesses and being able to rely and work together and rely on each other's strengths to get something done instead of just trying to do it all yourself.
Beautiful.
I think one of the quotes was you can't be successful with other people if you haven't paid the price of success with yourself. So like doing the work within yourself to have a solid foundation and then being able to work with other people to achieve like a collective goal.
Beautiful. I really resonated with, the principles or, the 6 major deposits of that emotional bank account. I think they used some good analogies. I think there was one with the farmer and then one with like the baseball kid with his dad, and just building up those emotional bank accounts. It kind of resonated with me and kind of brought to light actually how, our trust is built up in one another's relationships with each other. And it kind of made me more open to, you know, going through those 6 major deposits, moving forward in my relationships if I want to, you know, understand the individual, or, you know, whether it be like keeping my commitments, which was a big one that, you know, I've slacked on in the past. So, you know, let's say that.
Hmm.
I think the first part of this section was probably the biggest thing for me. The problems we have within ourselves are chronic, quiet and constant, so we can basically learn to ignore what's going on in ourselves. But the problems with other people are often acute, very obvious, and therefore, because they're interpersonal, they're much more obvious. And you know, this is something I feel like I see in the world a lot. Is I often like, oh, there's a problem, there's a problem. And another part of the book said, as soon as you see a problem externally, it's not a problem externally, it's a problem internally. So just coming back to that theme of um our own stuff pouring into the world and just being a major mirror and reflection. And it says there's a simple outgrowth. These are outgrowths of the chronic problems we have in ourselves. And there's no quick fix. So that was
Hmm.
definitely from this section right off the bat, was just straight.
Yeah. So you have to
Right.
put in the work, develop the habits within yourself, and then interact and engage with the world.
Yeah. And just
Um,
recognizing.
yeah,
All about pattern recognition, because if you can see, even if you haven't done quote unquote done the work, but you can recognize the patterns and stop them in their tracks, then that alone is extremely powerful.
yeah. I think there was a part where it was talking about how important it is to master the personal habits before engaging in like public interactions and like relationships in general. So for me, I feel like I've noticed that interacting in public spaces almost like kind of like holds me accountable, because like hearing the story that I share kind of like helps remind me of who I am and the direction that I want to go in. So that part didn't, it makes sense, but it didn't quite necessarily like align completely.
So a question here, and welcome, Dennis. I sent you over the book notes.
It's in the meeting chat.
So first question, what major emotional bank deposits do you feel that you rarely, which one do you feel like you might be missing out on the most? The one that you deposit the least?
I'd say for me, it would be clarifying expectations. And this is like a seesaw for, you know, specific relationships. But I'd say, you know, for business partners or stuff like that, or, you know, if we're doing any business type stuff, I'd say clarifying expectations in the beginning is something that I don't do a lot. And I think I definitely benefit from that. So if I just, you know, make those expectations clear and explicit in the beginning, I could definitely probably get further along in, you know, getting that bank account fuller.
Make the deposit.
Yep, make the deposit.
For me, it would be attending to the little things. Because sometimes I'll just overlook, like, the little bit of favoritism that I give to some people and not others.
Mm.
I have a question for y'all. It just seems like the keep your commitment and then you show your personal integrity. Those two are kind of like almost the same.
Hmm.
Or would, like, you know, when you show personal integrity, with that just require only you, and then like you being honest about your, like, with yourself, and keep a commitment with that like include other people? Is that a difference that would be?
Yeah, that makes
Be-
sense.
Definitely be overlap. Yeah, the personal integrity, that's kind of what's going on behind closed doors. And the one thing I liked, it said,
Like being loyal to ones that aren't present.
yeah, exactly that. Just if you're, and I've recognized this in conversations with my former partner, and seeing it like firsthand, like when someone would talk stuff to her, she'd get worse. She'd be on edge and have less trust in them. Like, oh, is this happening to me? I haven't noticed it in myself, but I feel like there's probably situations where that's happened. But I saw it in that sense, and that memory really stuck with me. So I can definitely see that being very relevant there. And it has nothing to do, in that case, it has nothing to do with commitment, but again, I do think there is some overlap. I think this is like behind closed doors. How are you treating people when they're not there? How do you speak of people? Especially like if you're saying stuff that you couldn't speak to them, then you're just completely withdrawing to that other person. And there's one part where it said it might feel like a deposit in the moment, but it's actually a withdrawal.
Exactly.
I'll have to agree with Logan. For me, I think clarifying expectations. I think sometimes I'm definitely negligent of this, almost on, and I want to say intentionally, but I feel there's definitely been times in the past where I've been a bit vague intentionally to get people to join in on something, an event or something. I can't recall any specific examples, but I know I've definitely felt that energy, and yeah, clarifying expectations and just taking that little bit of time up front to, okay, here's exactly what to expect. I think that's extremely powerful, and something I feel that I've definitely not contributed enough to in relationships.
Would you say you had good clarifying expectations in your relationship with your uh, romantic partners?
I think I'm in a very critical space there right now, self-critical. So I feel like I'd answer no to all of these right now, just because I'm in a very
Mm,
regretful place right now.
yeah,
So I don't think I could answer that clear-headedly.
fair enough, fair enough.
Anybody else want to go forth here? Which ones you feel like you're least engaging in?
Keeping commitments, understanding the individual. I think I've spoken on it before, but understanding the individual, if it's somebody that I deem to provide value, then I'm gonna put a lot more effort and energy towards understanding and being present with them. Um, keeping commitments. Again, I think I've spoken on it a little bit before, but just like making sure that I'm keeping true to my calendar and being conscious of my time, not overcommitting myself. I feel like I could go to like all of these.
I was gonna.
Apologizing sincerely when you make a withdrawal, the people pleaser in me, like
Yep.
if there's a part of me that understands that I'm about to be like hurting somebody, then like I'm gonna almost like kind of shy away from it and like try and like make it seem like the best possible like thing. And even though it is still gonna be hurting them, I'm gonna try and like ease it as much as possible. Um,
Right? I love this phrase from the book. It says, you can't talk your way out of something you behaved yourself into.
mm,
I was just like, every time I heard that, I was like, oh, it's so true. So many times in my life where I behaved myself in a situation where I was like, countless times where I've seen myself try to talk my way out of it.
and then I feel like it's almost not a good skill to be able to have to be able to talk your way out of things because then it just reinforces the behavior.
Mhm.
Do you guys feel like any challenges being like on the way, trying to like make those deposits? for example, like we'll just start with like the apologizing like sincerely. A lot of times the challenge that would be on that would be like your ego. You know, it's like why do I have to apologize? Like your ego would get on the way. That would be like a little thing that would stop you from doing that, right? And then like showing your personal integrity, like yeah, you know, you keep these promises about yourself and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And then you slip and slide, like, oh, nobody's watching, you know, nobody was, and I can do this, I can slip and slide, right? And then when you clarify expectations, a lot of times I feel like there's a lot of things that we just like leave behind. And we just don't say everything. Like, well, they might just get the memo. But then if you really don't communicate well, like people don't live in your head. So they might not understand what goes inside your head entirely. So if you don't communicate it, like I'm not gonna know. Like somebody would come out here and be like all mad about you. And like, dude, what are you mad about? Like you never really communicated with me. So I don't live in your head. Like I don't know what's going on, right? So that could be another challenge. And then like keeping commitment, we can again slip and slide on that and tell somebody, give them promises and all that you want. And then inside of your mind, you're thinking, well, if I just slip this time, like it's not gonna hurt that bad, right? Like it's okay, they will like understand, right? That could be like another challenge for that. Attending the little things, I don't have much to say about that. So like it's very few people that would actually like, you know, smile when they see somebody or say that like a little good morning and just give compliments. It's very few nowadays, especially that we all live like with this, you know, little screen. We either like have our like AirPods on or just like have our faces on our screens and we barely even like look at each other to even like smile or give compliments, right?
And
Understand it. What's that?
can I give you some feedback?
Yeah.
Stop using we and our and use I.
Sure. I mean, I'm just like in general, like people in general do that.
So let's
It's not-
talk about your experiences.
I mean, I'm just okay. So this, what I was saying about this, I wasn't talking about me in general. Like I wasn't talking about me like specifically. I was just talking like in like as humans, right? Again, they are expected, like they are like this would be like an exception, right? Like you could be an exception. You and I talk about this a lot. Like I could be an exception. Somebody else could be an exception. But yeah. So the last thing is, this is what I was actually going to talk about myself is understanding people's individual, like the understanding the individual. That one is hard because if you've never lived in their situation, it would be really hard to understand their perspective. Again, that comes really with clear communication, right?
So that's the one you feel like you want to improve on the most?
If I'm being straight up with you, I don't have empathy for people. I really don't. That sounds really mean. That sounds really tough. Because I don't have empathy. Okay, let me paraphrase that. I would not have empathy for people that are not doing the right thing, right? Like if I don't have empathy for myself, like I don't feel bad about myself. Like what do you think I would feel bad about somebody else? Like I wouldn't, right? But there would really apply on like good stuff. For example, like hey, if I'm gonna like have to wake up every single morning like at 5 and work out to have a nice body, and I don't feel bad about myself, I have to put myself through like pain and like all this hard work, and then if you're just gonna come out here and be like fat and all that, you think I'm gonna have empathy for you because you're fat? No, I'm not. So same thing with like brokies, right? If I'm gonna put myself through like all this hell suffering, like you know, not socializing with people, like not having all that much fun, so I could go and build a business and then make that much money. And if you're gonna come out here and like complain how much, like how you don't have time and how you can afford this and this and this and that, because you did not put yourself through the same thing that I went through, you think I would have empathy for you? No, I wouldn't. Just because I put myself through something, like I had to, like I wanted to have just as much fun as you. I wanted to also sleep in. I wanted to do this. I want to do that. But because I put myself through that, like I'm not gonna have like empathy for you. This is different if you got cancer. This is different. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about stuff that are in your control. But stuff that are out of your control, like something just happened to you that was completely out of your control, that I would understand. But something that you could control, personally, I really don't have I don't have empathy for people.
So do you
Do you think that, so you don't see the value in empathy?
No. Empathy takes power away from people. Like you just victimize yourself in a lot of situations. You're like, oh, I'm the victim. But instead, if you just take responsibility of what happens to you or because of you, then you just feel like you're in control. Everything you do in your life, you're in control. If it rains outside, you get wet, it's your fault. You could have got an umbrella. I'm not gonna feel bad for you. It's your fault you did not bring an umbrella. Like you can if you just look at every single situation and you think how you could change that or how you could prevent that, like right, like not how it should be, like how you could have, right, like prevented that. Yes, it is the past, but you could have done something. You're gonna learn something from that moving forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so but I feel like as people too, we're also all just like the products of our environment. We're all the products of all of the decisions we've made, how our parents raised us, the impacts that society has had on us. So there's a whole bunch of different factors that go into how we arrive at exactly where we're arriving at right now. And like that say like you do have a little bit of empathy for somebody, right? And you decide to have a conversation with them, right? And you just ask them like about how they arrived exactly where they're at, where they're getting drenched like in the rain, right? And they don't have an umbrella. And maybe that conversation right there like sparks something in them and that was the spark that they needed to quote quote go get an umbrella. But instead, like maybe it's start to wake up at 5 a.m. to it motivates them to get into the gym, or it motivates them to go and start their business that they've been wanting to start for a long time. But I feel like whenever you have the approach of not having any empathy towards people like at all, it's like kind of like the glass half empty. It's like a little bit more of a pessimistic
Like a
view.
pessimistic view, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd say
I
with
see what-
this one, this, I don't even understanding people on a people level doesn't have to mean empathy. Like this first major emotional deposit is just like taking the time to step into their shoes, because we often project what we want onto others, thinking that's what they need or want. I often do that. So I think what it is about is just taking the time to actually understand someone else, their belief systems, where they're operating from, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be empathy to try and understand them.
So I think the cool thing too is that like anytime you're like learning something, all the neurons like in your brain are like firing and you're like getting turned on and you're increasing the neuroplasticity like in your mind and you get like a dopamine hit like whenever that's happening. So in order to put yourself in somebody else's shoes to understand and to learn like in a new way, like you're literally getting like a dopamine like hit. Um, so I don't know. For me, it's like it's something that's like fun. You get to be open-minded and
Yeah,
open-hearted.
couldn't agree more.
So Nas, I'll rephrase my question. Is understanding people on a more personal level something you want to work on, or a deposit that you'd like to increase? Because you expressed it's one you feel like you struggle with, which you
Yeah,
might
I'm,
not
I
wanna improve it.
right. Yeah, I think I generally don't think I just struggle with this because like a lot of times I ask questions like what got you to this? Like generally what got you to this? And honestly, the challenge that I have been encountering with people is that whenever shit hits the fan, and then you ask them, hey, why shit hit the fan? And then they can't even like give you the reason. A lot of times it's just like them victimizing themselves. Well, this happened to me. This because of this person. This because of that person. Then when you ask them, what could you have done differently? Like it's always gonna come back to like how it's not their fault. How like how they're not even involved in that. Well, like my girlfriend cheated on me. Like what could I have done? Like what could you have done to like not let that happen? Like I feel like I have a lot more control about my life if I just take responsibility of everything that happens in my life instead of like giving the control to somebody else. You don't control anything in your life. You can't control the weather. You can't control the government. You can't even control any heart stops. You can't control anything to begin with. So like really like you have to give that control back somehow. I'm not gonna say be like a control freak, but like you have to understand why things happen to you the way they happen to you and did not happen to other people. It should happen to everybody, but like why that stuff happens? Like why are you in that situation? Like everything the life that we'll live now, it's based on what the decisions we have made in the past. That's you are right where you can't victimize yourself telling like yourself, oh, I'm sad, oh, I'm depressed, oh, I'm broke, oh, I'm this, oh, I'm fat. Nobody's fault. It is completely your fault based on the decisions that you have made. Like it literally got you right. Like you are in your life right where you deserve. Like it is your life. It is your decisions that you've made. Like nobody else did that for you. You did that. So let's just like be a little bit, I personally take control like about my life and I take responsibility and everything what to happen to me is completely my fault. that gives me the control, so it could change my situation instead of victimizing it and just like sit here like hands tight, like, oh, I can't do anything. I will always do something because I feel like I'm in control. I can change stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Definitely,
that's a good mentality to have.
yeah.
I mean, it's
Good-
different. Like, I
good
totally get it.
balance.
It's different. Not a lot of people agree with it. It's very, very different. And it's really just like my belief, like it is very few, it's been like only few times where somebody would actually like agree with this like 100%, because I've also been a victim. It's like, oh, this happened to me, like, oh, because of this person, but it was never because of me. But the moment I'm like, whoa, this happened because of me, then like I see things different. I'm like, okay, what can I do better next time? Because if you just say, oh, this happened to me because of somebody else, then you're out of control. Then it could happen again because you're not in control. And then you're gonna be in the same shit again, over and over and over again, until when? Until
Yeah.
you just realize, holy shit, this is actually my fault. I can change something. Then you're like, okay, just clicks. I'm like, I'm gonna do something differently moving forward because again, it's my fault.
Yeah, you got to take responsibility.
100%.
Well,
Take ownership.
some things are acts of God, right? Like, what if it's something like you get into a car crash that's not your fault, or like you come down with some disease, or someone in your family comes down with some disease, and that totally like messes you up for a while.
That's
You know,
exactly
there.
what I started with. That's exactly what I started with. I'm not talking if you get cancer. That's completely different.
Oh,
That I understand. That's literally my first sentence when I started playing up with this. I said, I'm not talking about if you get cancer, but I'm talking about everything else that happens in your life, like today, right? Like, I'm talking about these small stuff, like, money, relationships, where you live, when you travel, like all that little stuff, right? But stuff that is completely out of your control. It's that. That's what I said. You can't control the weather. You can't control when your heart stops beating. You can't even control these other stuff, right? So of course there's things that are out of your control. So you want to take back on, instead of victimizing yourself because of somebody else, if you can take control over that. But obviously there's things that happen that are completely out of your control, just like when it rains.
All right, next question real quick, then we'll hop on the next section. Try and keep time. So who is someone you want to be closer with where your emotional bank account might be low? And what deposits are most needed in this relationship?
Who
Can you
is someone that we
elaborate?
want to be closer with whenever our emotional bank account is low?
Where the
And
bank account, where your emotional bank account is currently low. So like if you want to have a closer relationship with your mom, right now you know your emotional bank account is low. So that would be who, what deposits are most needed in that relationship?
So if the bank account is low, that means the amount of trust is low.
Yeah,
And does that go both ways or one way?
generally goes both. Suppose it could be different at times, but generally it goes both ways. If you're not trusting of somebody, they're probably not all that trusting of you. So yeah, and then if you look on the 6 major emotional deposits, those are the 6 categories in which you can make those deposits and therefore increase the emotional bank account.
Well, I personally have a relationship that I would like to improve. It's with my one of my family members. His name's Ethan, and he lives in a different state than I do. But we used to be really close as kids, but we don't know. We don't talk to each other anymore. And I believe, if I practiced a few of these principles, made a few more deposits, maybe we might be a little more open to communication.
Which ones in particular?
Like maybe like understanding the individual. Like maybe right now I'm putting a lot of projections onto him, saying that like, oh, he's too popular, he's too cool, they want to talk to me. But I don't know what's really going on. I can't read his mind, especially from several states away.
Thanks for sharing, Max.
yeah. For me, I'm kind of just looking at this, but the first one that came to mind is if I want to have a better or I do want to have a better relationship with my business partner. And then as I started looking at all of these things, they all correlate in some way, shape, or form. Understanding the individual, making a genuine effort to just understand him a little bit more deeply, attending to the small things, just showing up with kindness and love and doing the things that you have to do in order to build trust and goodwill. Keeping all my commitments, communicating over effectively, just clarifying everything, getting everything off my chest, putting everything on the table, instead of kind of holding things in and then letting things build up.
Awesome, brother. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really
Um,
personal one.
Yeah, I'd have to say one of my business partners as well. When I bounce off of Trevor, probably the two main things would be apologizing sincerely when you make a withdrawal. 'Cause I feel like sometimes we go back and forth and kind of, have withdrawals every now and then and don't really take accountability for that or apologize at all. And it just, adds up to that emotional bank account negatively. And then clarifying expectations. I feel like in business and with business partners in general, that you should always clarify expectations in the beginning to make sure you're on the same page. Because if you're ever at all not on the same page, business is not going to be as thriving as it should be or as it can be. So clarifying expectations and, just making everything clear and explicit.
Mm.
So what exactly is a withdrawal in this framework?
A withdrawal.
So with, go ahead.
Yeah, it said low emotional reserve. Well, go ahead, Logan. You might have something more.
I just had a brain fart. You
So
go ahead.
withdrawing is generally like anything that takes away from trust. So basically the inverse of a lot of these. The
Also,
higher,
like not so not keeping your promises. What I was gonna say.
not
Not
keeping
keeping your commitments.
promises,
Disrespectful behavior, being
Yeah.
self-centered, unclear expectations, dishonesty, and refusing to apologize.
So it's not like asking someone for a favor, because that's,
it could be.
you know,
It depends on, I mean, that specific dynamic, but asking for a favor, when someone doesn't have a high emotional trust with, like, I don't think it necessarily will drain it unless something goes astray there. But I know that the higher your emotional bank account is, the more likely that they are to want to like work with you to do that favor.
Interesting. Yeah, what came to my mind when you were asking that, Anthony, is my relationship with my dad, with whom I feel like I am not as close with as my mom, and I have a harder time being like authentic and open and like building intimacy. And I was kind of thinking about like, I mean, the way what I tell myself is like, oh, it's just like his personality, because he can be like really like kind of antagonistic, and I know a lot of that has to do with his own life and what he's been through and his issues. But I was thinking like what kind of things like could make that like better. And like part of why it's hard, I think, is because like I'm still financially dependent on him, and I don't like fully have my life together, and I spend a lot of energy like on things which like might be viewed as irresponsible, like going to concerts and stuff like that.
Mm.
And so I'm sort of thinking like maybe in a general sense, like getting my life together, and in which it can be done in various ways, will maybe make it easier for me to like feel more open and more trusting and equitable in that relationship. And yeah, I think some of these other things could apply too. So it's interesting to think about, but that's just the thought that came into my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and it totally makes sense too. And Do you feel like the financial dependency is something that you project onto your father, or something that like he holds over your head?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think he sort of holds it over my head, but without really saying it, I think it kind of, I mean, to some extent, it kind of goes without saying. It sort of feels like, I don't know, sort of feels like I get this energy from him that he's like concerned about me, which like doesn't really feel good. So I
Mm,
guess I sort of need to like be mindful of that feeling he has and where it's coming from, and sort of maybe like show up a little differently or something like that. You know, because some to some extent, I think the concern is kind of not 100% founded, because he's kind of like an old school traditional type guy from India, and like doesn't understand a lot of things about like what it's like to be a young person in America in this day and age. But uh yes, basically. I forget where I was going with that, but yeah.
no,
Uh,
no, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for sharing, Dennis. But I want to answer your question. Can I answer your question with a question?
Yeah.
Just saying, like, have there been examples, right, where you said you were going to do something, right, like showing personal integrity, and then it didn't fall through, and it kind of like, I don't know, kind of made the relationship worse?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Um, I was just thinking about that. Like, there's been times, like just recently, he like asked me to like text him something. He like, oh, send me how much money you made with Uber last year so I can do taxes. And I like, just totally slacked on it. I don't really feel like that stuff has any big impact on the relationship. Um, but that's definitely very interesting to contemplate. I feel like that could be something that does come into play. I'm just not really thinking about it right now. But thank you for asking that.
And devil's advocate for you, Dennis.
Well,
Number two, attending to the little things. Inside, we all are sensitive and affected by small things. And maybe that does, it might not, but
yeah.
have you talked to him? Is he like, oh my God, Dennis didn't do it? Because I know me personally, I think for sure there's some things where, like, I just took forever to book my Vegas hotel. I told my dad, like, yeah, I'll do it this weekend. And then, I just have more important things to do. Wasn't
Mhm.
important per se to me, but I didn't keep my word. It was important to my dad. I don't know if any trust was dwindled, but a week later, he's like, hey son, you get that booked. A week later, hey son, you get that booked.
Mhm.
It wasn't me being my word. So even if it might have only been small, but next time something in relevance to that comes up, you might be like, okay, are you sure you're going to do it this time? There's going to be a lack of trust, even though it might be tiny. Those things could exist. So just to be a devil's
Yeah.
advocate.
Yeah, thanks for saying that.
For sure. Anybody else want to share on that question before we hop to next part?
I'm ready.
We're good.
Okay. So habit 4, think win-win. Reflections, thoughts, takeaways.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite parts of the book, where he talks about the different, like, the mindset of win-win, right? You can talk a big game, right, of having win-win, but you're really talking about lose-win or win-lose, right? So you're showing these tendencies, but my favorite thing to embody right now is what I got from the book, is to have a tactic like this, is to have a win-win or no deal, where if you both can't come to an understanding, right, where you both feel like you're benefiting, then you got to be in you got to be in a comfortable enough of a space to say, hey, it doesn't look like there's going to be, a good dichotomy here. It's just no deal. Which a lot of times in my life where I could have seen where, like, hey, I could have lived without this one particular thing, right? And it could have made our relationship a lot better if I just said, hey, there's no deal here. Sometimes it's hard for me to be honest about that.
Mm,
So yeah, number one thing I got from that section. Win-win, no deal.
yeah.
Deal.
something that came up for me, the 5 dimensions of win-win. First one talking about character and the traits of that. I've talked to you guys a lot about underlying scarcity, which is an onion I'm continuing to unpeel. As I was reading this, I was just really recognizing heavily how I at times will act in the scarcity mindset of a zero-sum game, secretly hoping others suffer minor misfortune, always comparing and competing with others, surrounding yourself with yes people, looking at differences as signs of disloyalty. Every single one of those I read and I was like, I've definitely done that. Definitely done that. And I was like,
For
holy,
sure.
like just to dig the shovel a little deeper, like wow, scarcity is not only rooted in these external things, but some character levels as well. And definitely has gotten better from where it used to be, like significantly better. I feel like these haven't coming up in the recent, but just realizing like to read these things and be like, okay, well, one, I'm not the only one who does it, but two, it is extremely valid and gives me a lot of insight as to where some of these deeper rooted
Yeah.
varsity wounds are.
Or like the comparing and the wanting to be victorious over our peers versus like everybody building each other up and everybody winning together and making it beneficial for everybody else. Yeah, I think it goes back to like doing so much of the work yourself that by other people being around you, they can't help but become more emotionally aware, more financially abundant, more spiritually enlightened, just by you being you.
Another point to click, the problem is often in the system, not in the people. Bad system equals bad results. And the system having to support the win-win. So yeah, just as moving forward and business operations and stuff, like how can you create a true win-win? It has to be like a systematic thing, not just you saying it. So I thought that was, yeah, bad system is the result, is the bad result, not the people. I think it's so easy to blame the actual people. Yeah, like thinking about my apartment, all the shit I've had. Not the people who are bad. It's they built a bad system that doesn't resolve some of these things. But it's so easy for me to just take it out on the people that are there, you know. So
Yeah, that's a
Nice,
good one.
nice.
Yeah, they're just showing up for work and they have a boss that's telling them what to say, what to do, parameters to work with.
Mhm.
Yeah. The other quote, the win-win mindset requires an abundance mentality, which means that we believe that there's plenty out there for everyone. You need to have a mindset where success and resources are viewed as plentiful and shareable. If you see it as like a finite space, then that you need to be taking from somebody else in order to work your way up to the top. It's like working against that abundance mindset where there's an infinite amount of resources available for everybody. You just need to be proactive and work.
For sure, yeah. I definitely resonated with that abundance mentality because there is plenty out there for everybody and everybody can get a slice of the cake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's more than enough cake.
That's for sure. It also kind of opened up a bunch of different perspectives for me. Just, telling, all the examples from the win-win, win-lose, lose-win, and lose-lose. Kind of brought the perspective that, I've been in probably or for sure every one of these situations at one point in my life. And to kind of shift my mentality from lose-win, from that, people pleasing state where, I kind of suffer, but, someone else wins, to a win-win. And I also found it was kind of funny, the lose-lose. I think one of the examples was this husband was going through a divorce and he had like this $10,000 car that he sold for $50, and he ended up giving the wife half because she needed half of the car, so she got like $25. And I just thought, how petty can you be to lose that bad in a lose-lose situation?
Mm, yeah, that's rough.
Pretty petty.
Yeah.
You really gotta hate the person.
Yeah, one time I was living in LA a couple years ago and I just bought a 350Z, like a convertible Nissan drop top, and the radiator had blown down on me, and I had it parked on the side of the road, and then I was traveling for 2 weeks and ended up getting towed, and the tow bill was like $1,000 to get it out,
Oh,
but
shit.
the car was only worth $1,000, and I had just paid $10,000 for it, so it was like
Sh-
I just ended up letting them like keep the car and sold it to
Yep.
$1,000.
Nice.
Yo,
See some return on profit.
yo.
All right, we'll hop into a question. What is one relationship you want to incorporate a win-win in your life, and what can you do to head in that direction this week?
Mm.
I'll go ahead and start. Mine is very relevant. My relationship with my mom. Actually reached out to her today, so she's coming over right after this call, and gonna sit down and have some very difficult conversations, all kind of rooted in just understanding one another and identifying what a 10 out of 10 relationship looks like. It's gonna be extremely hard. Yeah, I don't know. Very, very hard. So we'll see how that goes. It's very I have so much tension with my mom. And when we do stuff, we'll get dinner, we'll go to the movies every once in a while. So to sit and like just dive into deep conversation and like try and explore explore, what she's gone through and express what I experienced growing up. So
Have you had a conversation like that before, or will it be the first time?
really the first. I mean, we've had one day where we had like some deeper conversation. I can't remember when this was. I think it was after my last time I broke up with my partner. So so
Wow.
much more has surfaced though since then. So and there's a lot of trauma there. I feel like I've worked through a lot of it, but I'm not sure how deep that onion is. And a ceremony will tell me even more, but I wanted a clear space and like release some of this stuff before going into ceremony in a couple weeks. And my mom goes back to work next Friday actually. And I do want that to be a good relationship, and I've just been resistant to the vulnerability and emotional depths that it's going to require to potentially, see anything that I want to see there. There's no guarantee. So
Mm.
Well,
yeah,
best of luck with that, brother.
book was an inspiration.
Yeah, proud of you, brother.
Thank you.
Mm. I think it's hardest with parents.
Yeah, it's where like most of your trauma comes from. It's where all the shit comes from as a child. So
Mm.
it's good. And I actually speaking with a friend, she shared with me that, and she's at a point now where like she'll bring up stuff to her parents or her mom at least, and she's like, oh my gosh, like I just found out, and I draw all these loops, and like, this thing that you did to me when I was a child, like they can have conversations like that. And her mom's like, oh my gosh, I never know that, affected you like that. I'm so sorry. And
Mm.
thank you for sharing. And that's a beautiful place to be at.
Yeah, it is.
Mm.
But yeah, you gotta be able to have the emotional bandwidth to be able to hear that and not get offended or unvalidate.
What about you guys? One relationship,
Ah,
incorporate win-win.
let's see. Well, you guys know that the relationship between me and my dad, we have a very, close relationship, not only in proximity, but as well as in business together. And that's a relationship I want to continue having a win mentality with. And one of the things, that I guess kind of worked out recently is that, I was discussing with my dad, a lot of times I'll get a little defensive about my finances. And it took me a little while to, kind of be a little bit more open with him about it, because he likes to be a little critical about my finances. But once that I've learned to kind of accept that, right, and kind of like absorb that information and reflect it back, more often I did that anyway. The more we kind of like both understood each other. But I wanted to tell you guys something that happened. It was really great recently. Is that I told him that, like, hey, I'm not doing the best financially right now. I don't have as many hours in work, and I'm putting more hours and more hours into school, and I'm gonna have to take out another student loan, in order to cover my expenses. And he's like, oh, I don't want you to take out any more debt, Max. So the business is gonna cover your tuition bill for the rest of your, duration.
Wow, amazing.
That is super cool.
So
And I
Max,
was like, yes.
I was gonna say, so are you at a win-win right now, or is that somewhere you're looking to get more to a win-win?
I want to continue maintaining that win-win situation.
Okay.
Because there's some things, that I need to improve on, like what are my roles in the office, and am I accomplishing those roles in a timely manner?
Awesome.
Yeah, I guess while we're talking about parents, the first one that came up for me too was my dad. We haven't had a lot of deep conversations. I feel like my mom and I have an amazing and beautiful relationship, and he's normally just kind of like, oh, like you can like talk deep with your mom, but like, like I like to keep it surface level. And we had a family dinner the other night, and during the family dinner, it was all pretty surface level. But then afterwards, he called me and just told me he wanted to hold space for me, and that he felt like we hadn't um connected lately, and just like noticing and like seeing like the effort on his part felt good, and then kind of just like opened me up to being like, oh, okay, like I see him like putting in effort, and so now it's my turn to be like proactive and reciprocate that energy. um and just like noticing that I hadn't been doing that before because he wasn't doing it, even though I could have been.
What do you want to do this week?
Just be proactive and hold a little bit more space for my father in a way that is going to be new for both of us.
Nice. Dennis, Logan, anything coming to mind for y'all?
The only thing that came to mind for me is I'm going to Martha's Vineyard with my sister tomorrow. We're going to stay with our aunt. Um, and I've actually been feeling really good about my interactions with my sister lately. I felt like we've had some good conversations, and I've been very helpful and supportive to her. She's been struggling with her relationship. And so I feel like it's kind of a nice, like, sort of synergistic relationship, because when I stay with her, she supports me in a lot of ways, and she buys all the food and everything. And but so anyways, I feel pretty good about our relationship, and I look forward to kind of diving into that a little bit more over the next couple days as we do this vacation, and hopefully just spend some quality time together. That's all that comes to mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd say for me, probably my grandma. Um, I'd say our relationship's fairly close, but I guess I've never really, had deeper conversations with her to just, understand her brain and understand the way she feels, or her values or anything. So I guess moving forward, I can, have deeper conversations with her and see, how she's doing, how she's really feeling.
Nice.
What are you gonna do this week?
I'm sorry.
What can you do this week?
I'll have that conversations, like have deeper conversations and ask like how she's doing or what I guess what her values are. Or I have to think on it. What we'd have to talk about.
I actually got to get going. One of my friends is about to swing by, but I appreciate you guys. This was nice.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good.
Adios, brother.
Glad to see you, brother.
All right. We'll go ahead, hop on to habit 5. I love this one. So
That
yeah,
synergy.
seek to understand and then be
Oh,
understood.
see, that's right.
So what came through for this section with you guys?
Yeah, this is one we talked about before, and I feel like that we all know, but practicing it and catching it in real time is completely different. But most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Where in communication, people just focus on their responses rather than truly understanding the other person's perspective. And once we start to formulate a response, then we stop listening to the other person and then we just wait for them to stop talking. And then
Mm.
we just like focus on what we were going to say so that way we can say it without forgetting instead of being present and just like trusting in yourself to formulate a response at the end of what they're saying that comes from the heart.
For
Mm.
sure. Yeah, I feel like a lot of conversations just for everybody in everybody's daily life, including mine, you know, go based off the first 3 levels of that levels of listening, which were the either ignoring, pretending, or I think selective listening.
Mm,
And it kind of leads me to think like how often do I actually go above and beyond to make sure I'm doing that empathic listening?
yeah, being fully present.
Yeah, fully present for sure. And just, listening to other people, understanding them, and just, using that empathic listening. And
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think I like the part, sorry, the text looked a little weird. I like the part, I do like it. That's probably not the best word. I appreciate the little line they gave and said that they talked about the manipulation, where if you start to just incorporate empathetic understanding with someone who you've not done this before, it might seem like manipulation. So best to let them know what you're doing. And they kind of gave that, an example of what you could use. I read this book about listening and empathy, and I thought about my relationship with you. I realized I haven't listened to you like I should, but I want to. It's hard for me. I blow it at times, but I'm going to work at it. I really care about you and I want to understand.
Mm,
So just having that like extreme clarity on that affirming motive is a deposit in it of itself to just one, acknowledge, and then two, to like set a path forward. So, and it's really powerful. And also the idea of like these transactional opportunities as transformational opportunities when we actually start to try and understand people. And not only is this good for personal stuff, but obviously I think this stuff is invaluable for business practices, not in a manipulative type of way, but like as a best practice to like actually understand people and actually like, we obviously have offers in our businesses, what we do, but like if we really seek to fully understand, like, oh shit, yeah, I guess you got all this covered. This isn't what you need.
no.
And if you have that, basically the win-win or no deal, like if you have that on the table, then it's so much more authentic and makes you so much more trustable as well.
Yeah.
yeah, having that empathy definitely gives you that trust.
And I feel like, yeah, being able to go back to your purpose. And if your purpose is to um, help raise the collective vibration of humans or to help humans, then it's not about the money. It's not about being the salesman. It's about, okay, here's an opportunity for me to hear somebody that is communicating that they need to be heard or that is desiring to be heard.
Mm.
There's another quote, empathic listening is not about agreeing or disagreeing. It's about understanding, which is kind of interesting because that's kind of what we were talking about earlier. But yeah, empathic listening is about comprehension and empathy, not about judgment or agreement. So regardless of whether you agree or disagree, just being able to fully put yourself in their shoes and to be curious, to ask questions and really just understand.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate you guys sharing that.
Of course.
And it definitely takes, like some reflecting and non-probing, right? To actually like understand a person, because it's, well, Anthony mentioned earlier, peeling back the layers of that onion. You'd be surprised of how often people would just unwrap themselves right before you even, contribute anything to the conversation.
Mhm. Diagnose before you prescribe.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was about to say, Logan.
Feel like a lot of people do that, myself included, diagnosing before we prescribe.
Question for the section. What's a recent conversation you can recall where you were looking to influence and impose your point of view on someone?
Before listening to them, or
Boys, again, excuse me, I'm gonna have to dip. You guys take care. I
Later,
love you
brother.
guys all.
I'll
adios,
check
my
in with you
guy.
later, Nestor. Bye.
Bye. Talk to you later, brother.
I had a recent conversation with a friend, and um I was trying to remain unbiased towards or they were just asking questions about the group. Um but I was trying to remain unbiased, but I think I was kind of pushing um for them to join the group. And I think like the more like I pushed, like the more um they were a little bit more hesitant to join. But
Mm,
I was definitely trying to push like my point of view.
gotcha. Was it Kendrick?
It was.
When did you talk to him?
After you guys talked yesterday,
Okay, gotcha.
but today he said that he thought about it a little bit more, and he said the 2 week trial thing sounded good to him, so
Yeah,
we'll see.
yeah. I've been offering that to some people. I think that's when somebody gets in, they check the vibe and they're on the calls and they have the partner.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty solid. So, and it worse happens, somebody comes in for 2 weeks, like I don't like it. So,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
my marketing agency I'm with said to create a no-brainer offer. I was like, okay, it's pretty no-brainer. Try it for free for 2 weeks. So,
Yeah.
um,
Hmm.
recent conversation I had, my ex-partner, I had brunch with her, not this Sunday, but the previous one. We've talked since, but on that time I was really, just really imposing a view and like holding on to expectation and really trying to influence and really attach to things being a certain way. And what I really should have done differently is just seek to understand. And that's really the biggest thing that's coming up for me. And like all of this is just literally not just this habit, but like everything is like just taking the time to like really get down to the roots of what someone wants. And all in all, it's just gonna make for better conversation, whether that's just influence intended or even just like learning about a human being. Just truly like seeking to understand and um, not needing to relate. I think I definitely had some selective hearing that day. I don't know if it was in this section. Oh yeah, the responses. We respond in one of four ways. I read somewhere in the book like the need to, oh, I relate to that. Oh, I resonate with that. And it's just like trying to find that place to plug in. And I think I've talked about that before. So just stepping back and really like, I hear you, and know, people get curious when you just listen, and then they want to hear about you.
Yeah.
And if that's your intent, then I feel like that's not
Manipulative.
manipulative, but like the underlying intention. But if you can root solely in the intention, I just want to learn about this person, I feel like there's so much to be had there. So valuable.
Okay, yeah. So this was a conversation I had recently with my mom where she was saying that her team believes that manipulation isn't a bad thing if you've done the work to have a purpose-driven life with good morals and values, and you truly are in alignment with your purpose, then there is going to be some level of influence for you to like achieve your purpose. So, and if influence and manipulation are the same thing, then manipulation doesn't have to be bad.
So is that manipulation in line with that purpose?
So if your dream is a better world than right now, right? And people that say like your dream is a more optimistic world, but you have to get people that are pessimistic to change their mind. So therefore you're putting a level of influence, you're trying to influence them to see things differently.
Hmm.
So you're going to be using psychological manipulation to get them to see things differently.
Yeah, I think there's my personal opinion, I think there's two pieces to that. I looked up the definition. So there's two definitions: the action of manipulating something in a skillful manner. The second is about people, the action of manipulating someone in a clever or unscrupulous way. Scrupulous.
Unscrupulous.
And unscrupulous means having or showing no moral principles, not honest or fair. So I think, I don't know what, she probably didn't mean that. I think Logan's right. Like, and I think, I swear this was in another book. It might have been this one, but like if your little kid like runs across the road, their desire is, I want to get across the road. Well, they have a deeper desire to not die. They might not know it in that moment. So you save them. It's like, oh, you stop them. So if you're operating in someone's best interest in a genuine way, and especially like with marketing, like, like, okay, your goal is you want X, Y, and Z. I offer X, Y, and Z, and you might have to sell them into that way. And I think as long as you're not using unscrupulous ways, if you're, operating from a legitimate place, then I think that morally that's okay. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the word manipulation. That's my own personal connotation with it.
Yeah, no, it's normally used in negative connotation.
Anybody else want to tap in on this question?
What was the question? A recent conversation. Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, actually, very recently, I was trying to get one of my friends to read this book because I thought that they could use, a little brush up on some of their, ways of thinking, ways, characteristics, ways of, I brought up the emotional bank support system, and they kind of took offense to it. Kind of like, why would I need this? Are you saying that my characteristics are bad? And kind of just got us in, a little argument, nothing crazy, but just a little argument. But if I could have done it differently, I guess I would have maybe taken like an excerpt from this and, just shared it with him and just added like, hey, saw this. This is something crazy or something great I learned today. I thought you might benefit from it.
Did you how did you start out posturing it right off the bat? Did you like share it like, hey dude, I'm reading this really cool book, I'm fucking loving it? And
Something along those lines, but it was more along the lines of like, I think you would benefit from this book to fix some of your ways of thinking. So
Mm.
maybe it was the way I said it probably wasn't worded in the best way. So that
Might been a little
probably,
ego in there.
yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Have you guys had a conversation about them wanting to be better than they are right now? Or them looking for change in their life, or them looking for growth, or them looking to just be somewhere where they're not currently?
We have before, not very much in depth, but yeah, just, getting getting in a better place in life or just, upgrading their daily life. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think
think,
maybe if you, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to
yeah, no,
interrupt.
you're good. I was done.
So for me, I just had that conversation with my business, and it's a conversation that we've had in the past, but I
Mhm.
just had it last night with my business partner. And kind of like the when we're in that space, then like recommitting to being able to hold each other accountable in that way as well, where it's like, okay, if I read something that is really resonating with me, is it
Yeah.
okay if I send it to you? And then
Mhm.
they give you that yes.
Yeah.
And then whenever they see you take action on it, they're gonna show up with a little bit more presence because they're gonna be like, oh, this is what we talked about. Like,
Yeah.
this is the work. Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty much asking for their, permission to send them this versus pushing it in their face, trying to force it on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I
Yeah,
definitely agree with
permission
that.
is
Thank you.
powerful.
I'm sorry?
I said, yeah, permission for sure is definitely powerful.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Lets them have the power.
Mhm.
Hey,
Completely
brother.
agree.
I just read this thing. It's resonating with me. Are you in a space to be able to receive?
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like I definitely don't tend to lead with those questions at all. So I kind of just throw it on them and, you know, whatever they respond with, they respond with. So
Yeah.
I'll definitely moving forward go into a place of, asking them for permission.
Yeah. So then I don't want to say it's manipulative, but if it's something that's not something that you normally do, and then you start hitting them with that, they're gonna be a little bit curious too. They're gonna be
Yeah.
like, oh, wait, like Logan doesn't normally hit me with this. Like,
Mm.
what is this excerpt? What is this book? What is this video?
Yeah.
And they might show up a little bit more present for it.
Nice. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for receiving.
Of course.
All right. We'll hop into synergy. We'll start off right off the bat with the question. This one I had the least notes. Pretty simple principle.
Yeah, pretty
Got it.
simple.
Do you guys have any experiences with group synergy in the recent that you can recall? And what are some ways, if not, or either way, what are some ways you can get integrated into group experiences like this?
Right. I was just thinking about that when we were talking about the last question. Having experiences with group synergy. Like I was gonna bring up the example of what we were talking about yesterday, right? In our last group coaching call, Anthony could have just went right up front and just said, "Hey, all of you guys need constructive criticism, and you all need to get better at it." Period. No, he engaged everybody and had built up that synergy, right? And then saying like, "Hey, do you all believe that we can work on, having some more constructive criticism, for our partners?" And we all raised our hands like quite a bit of times.
Mm.
So I think that is a great example of some experiences of group synergy.
Thank you, brother.
Nice.
And just a powerful tool for facilitation too, and kind of helping re-engage everybody. Anthony's a good leader.
Mhm.
Appreciate you, brother.
Of course, of course.
Personally, what comes to mind is really any of the community spaces I'm in. I feel like it's just more. I feel like there's like one mission. There's a oneness, but there's also a lot of variety and differences amongst all the people, but like coming together for a common mission, whether that's Friday mornings or Thursday workouts or I went to church again on Sunday. I feel like it's just all coming together for like something greater than any individual piece. I love the example of the 1 + 1 = 3 or more. And sameness is not oneness, uniformity is not unity.
Mm.
Unity and oneness are rooted in complementary energy, not sameness.
Mm.
So all in all, I just love this stuff. Talks about the synergism in nature. Everything's related to everything else. It's a lot of good stuff, but I feel like, yeah, just community in general. When there's a common mission of some sort, or collective. The retreat I went on was really powerful. Yeah, I feel like lots of synergy there.
So with synergy, does it have to be a group conversating, or can it just be like people like dancing and vibing out together?
No, it'd totally be that. It just means that the whole is greater than the individual parts. And it can be, two people. So two people creating together will, at times, not always, like two people working
Yeah.
together could create 1.5, or two people working together could create 3 or more. So anytime there's more than the one individual component, you have the opportunity to experience that. Now that you bring,
Okay.
I think, my co-working experiences where it allows like conversation and connection, and then like people liberated, even though they're going back to their same thing, so it's not quite the same, but like,
Yeah.
I'm just drawing a big emphasis on community and associating that with synergy personally.
Okay. So it can be just, your partner, another friend or coworker.
Yeah.
Pretty.
All right. Any other parts from that section you guys want to share? Anything that resonated? I know there's not, it pretty much said all the notes, but
Yeah, that was a shorter section.
oh, I do like I'm basically going through all of it. Your internal synergy is completely within your circle of influence. Yeah, I thought this was really good too. Because we have parts of us. We're not just like one whole. We have like all these different parts, and we'll have our dark side and our light side. We'll have our analytical brain and our creative brain, and we have like all these different pieces, and they're all within our circle of influence. We can control them, and they're stronger. Yeah, they're stronger when they're used together. Oh man, that actually relates a lot. I realized personally, a big gap in my dark masculine, this week um, after that experience on the boat and the previous day, like just like this dark masculine energy and this primal energy that I pushed away. Like, oh, there's no dark. But there's there's also a ravenous beast inside that I haven't let out.
Mm. So then it gets fun to tame the dragon and get to ride around on the dragon a little bit, and you get to
Yeah.
choose when it breathes fire.
Mhm.
You breathe fire in the bedroom, you breathe fire on the court, you breathe fire in the weight room, and the rest of the time he's right there at your side, just chilling.
And on the boat.
And on the boat.
On the
Is that
boat.
booties? Yeah.
What is it?
Booties.
Yeah, look at those tan lines.
I'll show for oh shit.
We can't see it.
I don't think we can see it. It has to be in front of your face or your
I know
body.
it just did this weird thing. It connected to the Mac.
Hmm. Typical Mac.
Does it even see me now?
No.
Huh.
Now we can. Oh, nice.
It's a good ratio.
What, someone keeps. Oh, that's y'all on the
Oh,
boat.
Schlife.
Oh, nice.
Anthony's looking double cheeked up.
Double cheeked up. Wait, so everybody was buns butt naked?
%.
What in the world? Was the water cold?
No, water felt good.
Okay, good.
The girl that you brought, have you guys had a conversation about it after the event?
Yeah, actually, yesterday while we're on our call, she hit me up. She's like, "Hey, are you free right now?" I was like, "I am not." So I don't think she's too mad. Actually, I don't think she was mad at all. There's that people pleaser energy that's like, I mean, because
Yeah.
I think there's a validity there. Like, you just brought me to this like nude fucking experience, and I told you that I, you know, went out with someone.
That
So
expectation way overthrown.
I think there's definitely some validity there, but I think I took it
Yeah.
too far with trying to like, you know, ensure that she had a good time. In reality, like, we're already here. Like, after that point, there's nothing I can do.
Was this
Yeah.
like a friend or was this something like a romantic type relationship
So we met.
or in between?
We met not this last weekend, but the one before. Met her at an event. Went out to dinner after for like 2 hours. There's definitely attraction. And then the next day, the guy she stopped talking to a couple weeks ago reached out to her. He's like, "Hey, like, I'm a dumbass. Like, I got my shit together." So she's like, "Hey, I'm trying to figure this out." So then I reached out to her. We had been talking about hanging out again, and I told her, I was like, and then it kind of went cold turkey. She reached out to me again about something. So, hey, I just want to be clear, like, I'm totally okay with being like just friends. Like, you're super cool. We vibed. I'm not trying to put a square peg in a round hole. Like, I'm totally okay with being just friends. And she actually really appreciated that. So tips, guys, if you ever the girl.
Yeah, just
I
gonna
think
be friends.
Oh,
Come get
yeah.
naked on my
Come
boat.
get naked on my boat.
So then when we got there, I was like, yeah, this is orchestrated.
Fair enough.
So that's the backstory. That's why it was like, fuck, like, I promise you I didn't just set you up. This was not
Oh god.
Mhm.
So like with those kind of like freeing people, does anybody is everybody acknowledging each other's nudity, or is it kind of just like we just don't talk about it, or
yeah, they didn't, just like, cool, let's get naked, and then everyone did, like, they didn't say anything about it. So yeah, it was just like, I think it's just like that energy of being free.
yeah,
Yeah, we don't like
liberated?
clothes.
Fair enough. Sounds like something Max would be interested in.
Right?
Yeah, first for everything. But now it's like, okay, cool. Because I mean, I don't know, and there's actually going way off topic. I realized in Iowa, like the dark night of ayahuasca, I think I've shared with all of you guys. I think that night might have been showing me like some sexual shame. I don't know where it's rooted. I know as a child growing up, and I think one of our other books talked about this, how like we grow up and like nudity is like shamed and like, no, don't touch your penis, and like all this stuff around like sexual energy is just like implanted in us for most people from a young age. And I know for me, like my mom was like flip shit about porn. Like I think Logan knows the story. Like
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
called my
God.
basketball coach, called the principal,
The
told him about touching
principal.
porn. Like,
Oof.
Yeah.
yeah, so there's all kinds of some big stuff there. Maybe some of that'll be unveiled tonight. We'll see. But I realized like all that, just associating that with like this, oh wait, my body isn't supposed to be nude. I'm not supposed to be nude. I'm not supposed to be doing this. I think there's some like more deep rooted beliefs.
Yeah.
They're probably in my subconscious. So yeah.
Sometimes it goes the other way around too. Like sometimes you don't feel like you're worthy of dressing up nice, for situations. Just be like, everybody else is gonna wear, like a dumb t-shirt and shorts, like I'm just gonna show up the same holy things that I've always shown up in,
Or naked.
rather than
Or
Yeah, yeah.
naked.
Naked.
Booty butt naked.
So if you were the one facilitating that event, Anthony, how would you have gone about it in a different way than they did?
I
The
would not
boat
have-
thing?
I don't think you would have gotten naked first. There's no
So-
way.
I mean, if someone was like, "Hey, can we get naked?" I probably would have done the same thing. Like, don't say my name if the cops come over here, but like, sure.
Yeah, or like, and some like, hey, would it make you feel uncomfortable if I got naked?
Mhm.
And then like getting everybody's consent first. Instead of just kind of be like, oh, I'm getting naked.
Hard to say, because he was the birthday boy. Him and his girlfriend were the one facilitated.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a whole erotic temple thing the night before. I wasn't there for that, but I mean, like full on like the goddesses like brought people in and like are all blindfolded and they're feathering up and down and like just completely sensual erotic, giving lap dances.
Where can I find this at?
You gotta invite only, you gotta know a sex priestess.
Damn, gotta meet one of those.
It was invite only.
Oh wow,
He had
nice.
like he invited 50 people. I don't know how many showed up for that part. But yeah, I mean, I think they already knew most people would be open to that. I think they just assumed, and it's like, cool, it's my boat. Like,
Yeah, fuck it.
and I guess like if you're of that mindset, it's kind of like my nudity shouldn't bother you.
Yeah. So
Uh,
you're fine with that now?
I mean, I'm not just gonna go do that every weekend, but if an instance like that occurred again, like fuck it. All right, we're here. I do kind of want to go to Hippie Hollow, but that would be with a partner, not by myself.
Yeah.
I can be your partner.
Um, We'll go ahead and hop to the last section, boys.
Fair enough. Sharpen the
boy.
saw.
Habit set,
Yes.
sharpening the saw.
Mhm.
I think all these were good, so I'm not gonna make that reference. Oh wait, there's Inside Out again. Oh wait.
Huh?
Oh, there we go. My section wasn't loading. Yeah, so what came up for you guys in this section?
I'd say just that it kind of showed me that this might be the most important section on just always making sure you're advancing and, sharpening your saw, sharpening your physical, those 4 dimensions, physical, spiritual, mental, and social dimensions. Just always, staying on top and making sure you're getting better every day.
Yeah, or being a part of this group and just having like the constant reminder of doing the habits, doing the small things that help us build a foundation for that upward spiral of growth and change and continuous improvement, versus like, you start doing the small things, you start seeing the growth, you start seeing the improvement, and then you stop doing the small things and you keep expecting to keep spiraling upwards, but you're no longer doing the things that were able to give you that foundation for that growth in the first place. So
Nice.
yeah, making sure that you're sharpening the saw and doing the things that you need to do in order to sharpen the saw and taking the time to do it. It's easy to get lost in the sauce.
It's easy to get lost in the sauce.
One thing that I actually implemented today, it sounds silly, but like sometimes you just forget these things. His example of the going to the gym with his friend and his friend's like almost passing out and he
Oh,
like full on just pushing and he said, why are you, why don't you stop? And he said all the gains come in like the last few sets when you're like killing it. So today was leg day and I went the extra sets. I feel like I usually like I'll do the workout, I'll definitely get a good sweat going and everything, but I just pushed today. Just push those extra sets and I'm okay, this is where the growth is.
Yeah.
Just being reminded of that.
nice.
Out into the
Beautiful.
pain.
Into the pain.
I like what he said about we can't live without eating, but we don't live to eat. On the same note, organizations can't live without money, but they also don't live just to make money.
Mm.
Which I think is a very easy principle for people to get lost in, including myself.
We don't live to make money.
Positively scripting other people. I think this is really good. Just affirming people, empowering them, and it doesn't take away any power from you. You're actually just like you can just give power to other people. And that's such a beautiful thing. Like you can do that. And in fact, it actually empowers you and the opportunity to then have a more effective interaction with other people.
Yeah.
For sure.
Just being reminded of how powerful those, frankly, little things can be.
Yeah, I definitely resonated with that one and the one after it where it says the more we can see people in terms of their unseen potential, the more we can use our imagination rather than our memory.
Mm.
I feel like you you definitely see a lot of people and see the unseen potential that they could be. So definitely.
Appreciate you, brother.
Of course.
For me, sharpening the saw, kind of like, I love this part of the book because it actually reemphasizes, like some of the stuff it talked about in the first part of the book, having that private victory before going out back into the, public victory side. Because there's a lot of times where like you'll just give, 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 and then you'll be like, and then you'll be in a state where you're kind of like, oh shit, well, now I don't feel like I'm in a position to give anymore, right? Or you just feel really tired, or you feel exhausted in some manner, or some dynamic in your life may not be working out as well as it did before, and that's because you didn't take the time to sharpen your saw and focus on your physical and mental health, and like, hey, like, what does my social schedule look like? Like, I don't hang out with my friends anymore. I'm too busy. I'm too busy working on my business. Um, or finally, spiritual. Like, there was a point in my life where I didn't think, like, going to church or thinking about God was, productive. So it's gonna be like, oh, I'll just think about God later. Kind of like lacking in that spiritual sense. So, but I realize now it's an important aspect of my life. It's and kind of like sharing your experiences with like-minded people. It's great.
Yeah.
Sure.
I
For sure.
really liked the this book was fucking good. So I'm gonna drop two. And you guys can see all these, but treat a man as he is and he will remain as he is. And then treat a man as he can and should be, and he will become as he can and should be.
Mm.
So when we just people like with this higher standard and we just like hold them on this pedestal. I mean, that's what a lot of what we do in here is like holding people at this higher standard that maybe they're
Yeah.
maybe how he's not been operating, but it's possible.
Yeah, kind of dipping in that untapped potential.
Mhm. And then the other piece was the being lived. Once we're self-aware, we must choose purposes and principles to live by. Otherwise, we'll live on a level of simple survival and propagation. People who live on this level are being lived, not living. They are reacting and unaware of the patterns that lie beneath. That was probably one of the strongest as I finished out the book. I was like, holy shit. Because when we were like, we can literally just become this reacting mechanism that is entirely curated by the world around us, completely constructed by all of our past experiences, so that we become so locked in exactly what we're destined for in that moment. And we just continue to replicate our future. And the example that comes to mind first are like those girls who end up in shitty relationship time and time and time and time and time again. And it's always the other person's problem. Oh, he's fucking crazy.
And they don't take
And
any time in between relationships.
you
Yeah.
just somehow constantly create the same results. And it's because you're living in this state of complete and automatic, like automation and unawareness.
Very true. Wow. So
Right.
you'd prevent that by choosing like purposes and principles to live by?
Yes.
Absolutely. Our purposes and our principles are everything. And then we just have to stop. So you can set all the principles and things you want, but if you still operate on the same day,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
just have to choose differently. And like, I don't know, it's at some point it becomes much more natural. It's become much more natural for me. Like, and there's times where I won't choose the thing that's of my value. Like yesterday, like
Yeah.
I was so pissed and I was like, nope, fuck the apartment. Email. Now,
Yeah.
I told Trevor, I think it was Trevor, he was Nasser. I got my $200 refund. They fined me $200 for walking my dogs without a leash yesterday. They sent it back. So it worked out good. Where I was operating from, not the place I should have been.
Yeah.
It worked out, but the energy. And I wasn't operating from principles when I did that, because my principles would have been, let it go, it's done. At least the language in which I used.
So what would you have done differently if you would have?
I could have sent a kinder email. I could have not responded the way I did, which was, cool, okay, you guys don't want to take off that fee. Well, I'll make sure every person that I see when you're on tour is not gonna sign, and I'll make sure to add them to the.
Yo,
Good.
that's that lose-lose situation, my boy.
There's that dark masculine.
There's that $25 car.
I was hot, bro. But yeah, like I've walked my dogs for like months. I've literally had workers walk by me, and then yesterday they're like, "Your dog's not supposed to be off leash." I was like, "You guys have never cared before. It's
Is
part of
that-
the rules. You should have read the documents. $200 fine." I was like,
Wow.
Yeah. so
What in the
lady just
world?
randomly emailed me today. I was doing a lot of prayer, not around that, but maybe it has something to do.
Yep, that could have been. It could have been correlation.
Okay,
Uh,
we'll
Yeah.
go. Max, you want to share something?
yes. When we were talking about the purposes and principles to live by, Stephen Covey actually made another book. It's called Principle Centered Leadership.
Mm.
Okay,
If you wanted to delve deeper into that.
sounds good, buddy.
Nice.
Ironically, you asked Trevor. That girl just asked me to go to the movies.
Hey.
Which girl?
I was thinking,
Dang.
well, I
The
feel
bow
like
girl.
in her mind too, it's
Oh wow.
like, oh, like Anthony's a part of events where I'm gonna feel get out of my comfort zone. I'm gonna be liberated. I'm gonna have a new level of freedom. It's a
Mm-hmm.
new experience. There's a little bit of a dopamine hit and a freeing with it, and then all of those emotions get associated with hanging out with Anthony.
Yeah, I don't know. Both times we like stayed out super late, went to Cheba, all this stuff. I don't know. I don't see her as a partner, but she's cool to hang with, and I mean, I'd mess around with her, but I had to be clear about that. I had to operate from principles. I don't want to hurt anybody, 100%.
Of course. Of course, of course.
Thank you, Max, for the share. Last question. You guys, I've enjoyed this, and you guys helped me understand the book even better.
Of course.
What is one way? Well, what is one way for each dimension? Okay, I'll read it as I wrote it. What is one way you are going to make deposits into each of the 4 dimensions of life tomorrow?
Okay.
The 4 dimensions of life being the physical, spiritual, those ones.
Yep, physical,
Okay.
spiritual. What was the emotional
Life.
one? What was the emotional one paired with?
Social.
Social, and then mental.
I'd say I have to have one for each category.
Yep, one for each category. And in all honesty, like you should work on, like these should all get deposits every single day.
Okay, I'd say for my physical, definitely working on my flexibility and mobility. I've been really focused on, strength training and, pushing heavy weight that I've kind of neglected the flexibility and mobility training. So probably focusing on that. Spiritually, probably meditating more. I haven't been really meditating at all, so probably incorporating that into my spiritual journey. And then mental education, going through my courses, reading books, probably start daily reading again. I definitely
Vision board.
Yep, vision board, yep, that as well. For sure.
I feel like that could be
then-
spiritual too. Clarification. Well, value.
Yeah, could go either way. And then what was the last one?
Social.
Oh, that's right. Social and emotional. So, to think about that when you come back to me.
Cool. I don't mind going. I have
Hey, Max,
something. Yes.
I want you to own it when you say you're going to go.
I'm going to go now.
Beautiful.
Committed to
I
going.
like it.
All right, physical dimension. Because I want to focus more on sleep. Been severely lacking in that department, is staying on one of my devices, rather than going straight to bed has definitely hindered me in that. And waking up earlier. Let's see, spiritual side. I have to connect to some of the deeper truths, that I expose myself to. Like, there's this meditation app that I use called the Calm app. I think I've shared it with you guys before, and the Mighty Networks thing is that I want to continue using that for my meditations, so I can continue, like implementing, truths in my life, right? That I want to go forward with. Emotional and social. I've definitely got to get better at this, like actually scheduling things in my weekly calendar for something fun, for myself. Because if you don't plan it, you're just planning to fail, or not do it. So I need to do that. I'm gonna make a mental note to do that tomorrow.
Get to do that.
I'm going to do that, and then my mental deal, my mental health. I'm gonna continue journaling. Journaling has definitely helped me reflect some of the things that I'm grateful for and have gratitude for in my life.
So would that, Max, would that be more spiritual?
Maybe. I was trying to think of something mental though.
Your vision board?
Journaling.
I feel like journaling could be mental.
It could. That's why I asked. I'm not 100% sure. It depends on how you journal, because sometimes journaling is just reflecting. And like Max mentioned, gratitude. I feel like that's,
Oh yeah. If
but
you're like brain dumping, getting things out of your head onto paper. Like more
yeah, there could be an organizing and
Yeah.
planning piece of it too. So yeah,
Mm.
definitely could be a mixture, but your vision board too.
Yes.
I bet. Trevor, you got some?
Yeah, physically, I'm committed to doing an ice bath a day. Mentally, I'm committed to journaling every morning. Spiritually, I'm committed to listening to conversations with God for 10 minutes. And emotionally, I'm committed to going to one social event slash networking event every week.
Beautiful. Ice bath every day, huh?
Yo,
Wow.
yeah.
You're a
Oh,
trooper.
you want to see it?
Yeah, let me see it. Where's it at? For
Hey, I
sure.
got one for us in Austin, boys. I found the coldest one.
I don't want the coldest one.
Yeah, that's
I
30
want
boys
I
in
want a hot tub, my boy. How about we go to like a nice.
Yeah.
Nice little. Does that fit your whole body?
Yo.
Nice. Oh, beautiful. Hell yeah. Have you tried it for?
I'm about to.
Oh, it's gonna be your first time tomorrow?
No, today. Right after this.
Today, beautiful.
Yeah.
Love to see it. Send a
I'm gonna
picture.
be I bet I will. I'm gonna be recording all of them and doing a 365 ice bath segment.
Oh,
I'm
best of
dropping
luck,
in
brother. That's gonna be
Thursday.
nice. Like
Thank
on
you.
TikTok or what?
TikTok, Instagram, YouTube.
Nice. Hell yeah. That's gonna be sick.
Thank you.
Right. Mine real quick.
Mr. Anthony?
Physical tomorrow. I am gonna, would that be? Yeah, I'm gonna do an ice bath tomorrow morning. I've neglected that this week. So early ice bath to start the day and a workout. So that right off the bat. For social emotional, tomorrow service wise, I'm gonna be starting that other group with Ellie. So basically group coaching call on Wednesday now as well. And intrinsic security, that's an emotional piece. I think my affirmations for sure have been rooted in just like reprogramming my beliefs around loneliness and my worth as a whole. So just continuing that practice. Spiritual level, The meditation, obviously, I am gonna take time as well tomorrow to get clear on my values. So values, creating that list and getting abundantly clear on that. And then mentally, mentally, I'll be writing and planning out my VSL as well as doing the vision board. Probably not any reading tomorrow. So that's for my 4 areas.
Thank goodness. I read enough this past 2 days for the next 2 months.
Yeah, I was reading quite a bit today.
Yeah.
But it was good. That on that note, any other points you guys want to cover in the book real quick before we're done?
I think we're good.
Yeah, it was a nice 2-hour call. Glad you guys stayed.
Sure, of course, brother. I had a nice interesting